Today we're talking about kick drum mics. Drum mics.
Drum
Drum
mics.
mics. We have a 3 mic system for the kick drum. One, we're working with a D112. Highly common miking kick drums. A lot of times it's put inside the kick drum or through a little hole. This particular drum head does not have a hole, so I positioned it dead center to line it up with the beater. The second microphone is a large diaphragm condenser. I did not have a 47 type mic. A lot of times I see people like Warren Hewart or Greasy Will or any other popular producers using FET 47s of some sort, which is a large diaphragm condenser. So I'm using an AKG C214, which is a cardioid condenser mic, similar to a FET 47, also with a large diaphragm condenser capsule. So we have your Team AKG over here, D112, C214. And over here, we have our Rode NTR, which is a ribbon mic. So I've seen in many instances producers that I admire, particularly Warren Hewart, using a ribbon microphone spaced a bit of distance away from the kick drum. Maybe seen it around a foot or so away. I can't say what his exact measurements are, but I put that one there based on what my ears were telling me. And so why 3 kick drums? Well, or why 3 kick drum mics? Each microphone is doing a certain job. So the D112 is picking up the slap of the beater. Even though it's not right next to the beater, it's positioned directly in front of where the beater is making contact on the other head. So because it's directly lined up and it's a cardioid pattern microphone, I deduced that the slap will be reproduced through the microphone, and it was. The 214 is picking up some of the larger vibrations coming from the head, and then the ribbon microphone is filling in the very low end. So when we kick this drum, we may hear a slap. When you're in the room with the drum and somebody playing the drums, in this room, there's a lot of low frequency information that I feel like gets missed oftentimes. But the secret sauce is that producer's trick, the ribbon microphone. Ribbon microphones are incredibly sensitive, and I find that they capture extremely low frequencies, like the low frequencies I hear coming from that drum when I'm in this room, very well. And so with the combination of all 3 of those mics, you get a very accurate and well-detailed picture of what sound the kick drum is making. Now, it's not the only information I have to present to you about kick drums and what we're doing, and microphones are the first leg in the chain, but that's not the only legs in the chain that we're dealing with here, because each one of these mics is being passed through a high-end microphone preamplifier. We'll get to those in a little while, but that's the mics on the kick drum and the general reasons why I decided to use 3. Thanks, Warren Hewart and friends, for inspiring my choices. The end result is a fine-sounding kick drum. One of the drum miking techniques I'm especially proud of in particular is this mid-side configuration in order to pick up the picture of the total set. They do grab a lot of high frequency information from the cymbals, but they also do capture quite a bit of information from the rest of the kit, as an overhead mic would. The reason I chose the mid-side mic is because I could give them a little bit of a distance from the kit, and we could have this, I modified mid-side a little bit because this is not a cardioid mic on the bottom. I set it up for Omni because I wanted to catch some of the reflections from the wall in that picture of the kit, whereas the top mic is set to figure 8 configuration, as it should be in a mid-side configuration. And what we do in the software is we copy that track to another track and knock it 180 degrees out of phase. And then when we bring those up together, we have an accurate picture of the sides. It gives a very wide picture of the drums. And both of these mics, of course, are going through high-end microphone preamplifiers. And just like the mics that are on the kick drum, I'm also using some subtle limiting going into the software in order to keep those peaks in check so I don't overload my converter. Same here, subtle limiting. Most of the sound, though, is coming from what's happening between the microphones and the microphone preamplifiers. The limiting is relatively transparent because I have set it to conservative settings just to keep the signal fat going into my converters. But that is my replacement for an overhead configuration. Once again, it's a mid-side configuration. As far as tom mics go, we have Sennheiser MD421s. 1, 2, 3. They're what I would consider a standard in the recording world for tom mics. When you put them on a tom and you run it into your mic pre and you run it into your recording apparatus, in my case is a computer, you get the sound of a tom. It's detailed and clear. It's a little bit more detailed because of the use of the mic pre's, which are all API 512Cs. Those mic pre's collect incredible, astounding amounts of detail, in my opinion. And it's not just my opinion, but it's what my ears have heard since the beginning. The first microphone preamplifier that was a high-end mic pre I ever heard recorded was a 512C. And the difference between the 512C and all the other pre's that we were using, between a mid-range console and some other various microphone preamplifiers, the difference was, I mean, to me, to my ears, was immeasurable. I mean, there's so many more details in what we recorded as the exact same mic, the exact same performance, the exact same drum that was being recorded. And I never looked back when it came to what I thought about high-end gear. There's a difference to be made. And even though it may be a subtle, small difference, a lot of subtle, small differences, just like we have a lot of microphones, a lot of small differences add up to a big difference. So that's why I dig on some high-end recording gear. And it's been worth the effort to purchase and maintain it. So that's tom mics, MD421s, 1 on each. Once again, that's not the end of the chain. They go through the 512Cs and into some DBX limiters that also have gates on them, which allow me to regulate what I'm recording. I want to keep that in control as best I can, and so we'll get to that later. We'll get around to it, but that's the general gist of the chain. Okay, on the snare, we got an SM57 on top. You can see the direction I have it pointed in. I have it pointed away from the hi-hat in order to minimize the amount of hi-hat information we're getting. And then on the bottom, we have another SM57, both of which are running through high-end mic pre's and various other limiters. It's a pretty simple snare setup, that's it, 2 SM57s. Well, let's talk about hi-hat then. This is another Warren Hewart special. It's an SM57 taped together with an AKG 451B. That's a cardioid condenser, pencil condenser microphone. 2 of them taped together, pointed at the exact same spot. They both do a slightly different job when it comes to the sound they're collecting. But when you bust them together, they sound like a hi-hat, and that's what we want. We want accuracy. That's what we're doing. Thanks again, Warren. This mono room mic back here is a Peluso 22251 that I got from Sound Pure. Thanks, guys. That is a mono room mic. just adds a subtle element of mono sound, which is available for whatever we want. Likelihood of it being copied and run through some saturation in the mix process is high, depending on what song it is. We got a couple heavy and a couple light, but that's our mono room. I think it pairs very well with the mid-side configuration we have here, capturing the kit and cymbals and the room and everything else. It's whatever it wants to capture. It's a very nice, accurate picture coming through just those. As a matter of fact, we could do a whole record with those two microphones right there. We wouldn't have a lot of control, but the sound would be spectacular. And we could add like one kick and one snare mic, but you could do a four mic setup. This particular setup that we're doing here, the mid-side, 3 kick mics, the 421s, snare top and bottom, 2 mics on the hi-hat, the mono room in the back. It's a pretty intense kit. There's a lot of cymbals and a lot of extra little stuff hanging around, extra snares, extra cymbals, wood blocks, and cowbells and stuff like that, all available for accents and such. This is what we do for a very in-your-face sound. I mean, our sound as Dos Exodus is an in-your-face rock band sound. Even on some of our lighter tunes, we can be in your face a bit. So just because that is the sound we went for here doesn't necessarily mean that's the only sound we can achieve in this room. We can do any variety of sounds. We have all the gear that is necessary to create any kind of sound you want. We could do anything from a simple single mic in the room to 4 mics like the Beatles used to do, or, you know, we could do as many inputs as we have on these drums. So for that big, fat, detailed in-your-face sound, you know, we can emulate anything from the 1950s to modern times. But that's what we're doing here. We're doing an in-your-face sound, so that's what we got. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That's all I need to talk about now. I'll go bye-bye. I'll see you later.